Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Happy Friday!
Hey, hey-o.
The Friday before Christmas. Everybody ready? We're good to go?
I'm ready to go.
I'm done Christmas shopping.
Did you start Christmas shopping?
I don't Christmas shop.
That's what I thought.
I don't
Dead
understand.
inside.
I don't understand why people wait till the last minute. I guess now because
Life, they're busy. You know.
whatever, everybody's busy. I mean, come on. If you
Some are busier than others.
I guess if you're ordering with Amazon, it doesn't matter. But
It does this year because of the strike.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the packages
That's
that
true.
people ordered
All right, there you go.
early in December that they were thinking would be here in time are not here.
Not going.
FedEx too. FedEx they're
Well, there
a
you
mess
go.
right now.
There you go. But if you're going to stores,
There's nothing worse than going
there's
to a
no
store.
go. I remember.
I'm like Michael. I'm like Michael Douglas in Falling Down in traffic. I'm just like,
Especially here, because
Triggered.
as Jay knows, you lived in New York, New Jersey area for a while.
Ugh.
Like there's traffic there all the time, so you
live
in a
with it.
way you get used to it. Here, I never sit in traffic ever because I don't work 9 to 5.
go to Avon anytime.
Oh,
anytime.
stop. You don't have real traffic, but go to Crocker Park around Christmas. And it could take you an hour to get down
You
one
might not
block
find a
to Crocker
parking
Park.
spot
No,
when you go.
won't.
That's
So
the crazy thing.
it's insane to be going to places like that.
I like going to the malls in Christmas and being out. See, I got a critique though. I mean, like I go to different these. I look around COVID. Like I think COVID destroyed people's social skills. Like we avoid. We don't. I mean, I don't see people sitting at restaurants that much. Malls closed. Stores is closed. People don't
I don't
really
know about
talk.
that. Restaurants, I feel like, are always packed.
There's a lot of restaurants I see out of business. It's like
COVID had that effect on them.
Yeah, like I go to the mall, like I look and I watch movies and shows about abandoned places and like different chains that went out of business, and I'm like, man, and they show old videos of like people walking in malls in like the late 80s.
Yeah, that don't happen no more.
That
It
is
just
gone.
be like that.
Yeah.
It's just
Although
it's
COVID, I think, was the final blow to areas of people congregating.
Yeah.
Malls were already dying.
If you think,
But that was like
online shopping absolutely
Yeah,
destroyed
yes.
malls.
Isn't
Yeah.
it wild though to think like, why would you want to go to a mall indoors where it's climate controlled in every store you need? Let's go outside and walk for a quarter mile in the rain and the snow to get like it's insane.
Yeah.
Crocker, I can only
Yeah.
speak for Crocker Park because
That's what I'm talking about.
You too.
Yeah.
It's a cool. There's a good, fun atmosphere.
I know, but
there.
to Jason's point, back
Yeah.
in the day, all of that was indoors.
Inside.
Right, that's true.
We-
I know Kings Plaza in Brooklyn. We all went there.
Gone.
Everybody would go there and hang
Is
out.
it gone?
Was that?
Is it gone now?
I'm not sure.
I think South Park in Strongsville still does okay. Somehow.
I go there.
There's a few that
I
have
go
survived,
there,
but-
but you know the Parma Mall was out of here, and Randall Park is out of here, and Roland
Randall
Acres
Park
is
is
done.
Amazon.
Yeah, all that. Like when
Facility now.
when I grew up, there was the places I would go. Like there was like my life when you used to get dropped off at the mall.
Oh, yeah.
and be there the entire day.
Yeah.
Hang
All
at the
day.
arcade for 3 hours.
I would
Go to
take
the
the
movies,
city bus to the
movies.
mall. My parents had no idea where I was or what I was doing. I was like
crazy.
13, taking the city bus to the mall.
Yeah, life in the
That's
city is
crazy.
different. Yeah, because you can get anywhere from wherever
Yeah.
you are.
Right.
So there's, I think, a lot of that going on. I don't know if it still does today. But anyhow, I hope you get your shopping list done. This reminder, 7-Eleven is open 24/7. Should you need it, they do have chocolates. Sometimes they have flowers. They're not always fresh.
They got a
Yeah.
brick
They
of
have
Mad
flowers.
Dog 2020 and Wild Irish Rose too. If you want to have a
Here's
good
some
time.
Merry Christmas, honey. Here's some Boone's Farm
Some
strawberry.
ho-hos and a
You
Cliff
try-
Bar.
She's like, "Are you trying to take advantage of me?" Sure.
I think that's the only reason people bought Boone's Farm.
Right.
All right, welcome to the show. Busy day, 90 minutes here, 30 minutes on WKYC. That happens at 12:30. If you don't have it, download the WKYC Plus app. You can watch the show every day streaming on that app. You can put it on your smart TV at home, or you can put it on your computer, whatever the case may be. Cavs, Browns, even get to do a little Guardians, which I'm pumped about. Ready to go? McNuggets, what do you got for us?
Let's do it. Let's hop into it. Our first topic of today is brought to us by FanDuel. You can tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Do they put prop bets on the chances of a free kick?
They don't. We saw one for the first time since '76 yesterday, and it's a heck of a smart move by the Chargers coaching staff.
Very smart. I'm not sure that Jim Harbaugh realized at first that was an option because it looked like they were sending the offense on the field, and then all of a sudden there were some conversations, and there was a timeout, and then they took the free kick.
He claimed it was his favorite play.
What's that?
He claimed it was his favorite play, even though he's never used it before.
Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting play. It only comes into play once every 50 years.
Well, it's been I've heard him talk about it on broadcast before.
Yeah, but we've never seen it.
But I don't know why you would think that teams, especially with the legs that kickers have today, you would think that they would.
That would have been good for 63
because it's an easier kick than a typical field goal.
Oh, the trajectories you can line drive it, and there's no fear of it getting blocked.
I can't believe.
But it has to be the perfect circumstances to happen, though.
Yes,
you have to fair catch it with no time on the clock left. Or how often does that happen? Or a penalty.
There are other ways that can lead to.
I don't think it has to have no time left on the clock. It doesn't have to be an onside
kick. It's a penalty at the end of the half based from the team that doesn't have the ball. Is my understanding.
I thought it was just any time you fair catch, you can kick it. I thought.
That's really sums it up. Nobody knows the rule. I bet you most of the coaches in the league didn't know that rule existed.
I don't know. Maybe it is only after a fair catch.
I don't think
it's
with no time
I'm looking
left.
it up right now.
I think it's because I didn't know fair catch.
Okay, I didn't know that it had to be tied to the fair catch.
It has to be tied to the fair catch.
Oh, I didn't know that. That part of it I did not know. But what was crazy to me, you're right, with kickers' legs today, you think that they would just go ahead and try that a little bit more often.
It's the whole, you want 6, not 3. 3s don't win you games, 6 does. But at the end of the half,
And if you're writing that piece on the game last night, I think a fair amount of criticism has to be levied to Sean Payton for the way he handled the plays leading up to that.
Yeah.
The Chargers wisely used a timeout there to force them to punt. But I think had he just said, let's go to half, the Chargers would have been fine with that. But when he played it the way he did and it didn't work out, I know it ended up being a 7-point deficit, but remember, they kicked the field goal with about $1:20 to go to make it a touchdown game.
Yeah.
If that free kick hadn't happened at the time, all you would have needed would have been a touchdown.
Right.
And you would have continued the drive instead of obviously kicking the field goal.
So I got some clarification, by the way. It does not have to be at the end of a half.
Yeah,
it can be whenever you want. However, if you miss, it's a turnover.
Ooh, that's very punitive.
Yeah, that's your drive.
So you would only do it at the end of the half.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. And does it have to be off a fair catch?
Yes, it has to be off a fair catch.
Yes.
Wow. What a rule.
According to the NFL, after a fair catch is made or is awarded as a result of a fair catch interference, the receiving team has the option of putting the ball in play by a snap or fair catch kick, drop kick, or place kick without
I knew drop kick was an option
from the spot of the catch or succeeding spot after enforcement of any applicable penalty. So, it has to be after a free kick. So you would never try it unless it was the end of a half, probably.
Right, exactly.
Right. Maybe there could be 15 seconds left or something, but
in the NFL today, that's a lifetime. 15 seconds.
Yeah,
so
Josh Allen.
But I guarantee you there's been other situations in games where a team could have done it and just didn't even know.
Perhaps.
Not all that often, but I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah,
there's no way that was the first real opportunity for that in 50 years. Doesn't make much sense.
You wouldn't think. There's no punitive measure if it's the last play of the game or the half. It's the last play.
No,
the turnover doesn't matter
at
that point.
Well, would you like your odds on better? 60-yard kick or a Hail Mary to the end zone?
The 60-yard kick.
I think I agree.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think I agree.
And I'm sure there's analytics to
especially,
back that up.
but probably not because this is a much easier kick than a 60-yard field goal.
Yeah, that's why there would be no analytics because there's no body of work.
No, there's nothing.
So does that count? It doesn't count as a field goal?
It did.
No, I think it does.
Like in the record book, if you kick a 67-yarder on that, would that count? As,
I would think
so.
it would. I would think it would. Maybe with the denotation that it was
It
on
shouldn't.
that it was
It
on a free
shouldn't.
kick.
I don't think it should
No,
count.
because there's no chance of a bad snap. There's no chance of a bad hold.
Right.
There's no chance of the kick being blocked.
Right. Now
Dicker got credit for a 57-yard field goal.
Yeah, then I think, Jason, to answer your question, I think, and who knows, I think that might be how the eventual record goes down. What is the record right now? 67 yards?
67 by Janikowski
And didn't
or Justin
Elam?
Tucker.
Oh, okay. I thought Elam may have had a 67.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a guy can. Some of these top kickers, like Dicker or the guy with the
can make
Cowboys,
70.
It was
75 probably.
66
like that.
yards, Justin Tucker. Matt Prater has a 64-yarder, but 66-yarder
Yeah.
against the Detroit
Yeah, I mean, if he
Lions.
can make it off a snap and a
how
hold.
often on kickoffs do you see it go through the goalpost?
Right.
Oh, I know.
Plenty of times.
And the thing is, if his kick, and by the way, he didn't really line drive it. He didn't arc it as much
Right.
as he normally would,
No.
but he hit it probably closer to the middle than he normally would have, the ball.
Yeah.
And that was good from easily 66 yards.
Oh, easy,
I mean,
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
halfway up the uprights when it went through.
Yeah.
It's
That's
crazy.
fascinating.
All right, sorry to take us off track there. I just, when you're reading the odds of that, I wondered, do they even place a prop bet?
I would
can't
be
imagine.
shocked.
Probably
I'll
not.
look to see if maybe they add
It
it
happens
this week
once
now
every
that it's happened.
48 years.
Yeah. Imagine you were betting there will be a free kick in the NFL every week since 1976, and just waiting for that one to hit.
And you gave up on it before last
You were
night.
betting $1 every game for the last 40 years.
Yeah, the odds of that would be, I mean, it's incalculable.
Yeah.
Well, you can bet. Last thing, then we'll get into the DTR
Yeah.
stuff. But you can bet. Will there be a safety this week in the NFL?
Sure.
So maybe, dating back to 1976, we could have bet. Will there be a free kick this week in the
Yeah,
NFL?
right.
And you did
Yeah.
$1 every week since 1976.
You might have just broke even last night.
Yeah.
Finally.
All right. Speaking of the game on Sunday, though, we don't know if there'll be a free kick or not. We cannot promise. We
Probably
cannot
not.
guarantee.
I would bet
We
against
can
it.
promise that DTR will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I want to give Daryl Ryder real quick a head nod for this stat, but since 1999, DTR will be the 14th, third string quarterback to make a start for the Browns. Before we get into this, can you guess what the record of the first 13 QB3s in their first start is?
It's
2-11.
I was going to say 1-12.
Bingo. Can you name the one winner? And I'll give you a hint.
Last
Last year.
It was-
PJ.
Yeah.
PJ Walker last
Yeah,
year.
I was
There
going
you
to
go.
say, because I
So
remember it's happened recently.
Yeah.
that was the homage to Tyvus and PJ Walker.
There you go.
DTR's making his first start of the season. We don't know for sure if he'll have the runway to get the next 3 starts, but my question for you guys is today, what does he have to show you against Cincinnati and then hopefully the last 2 games of the season in order to put himself in the conversation to potentially be the Browns' starting quarterback in 2025?
I doubt there's anything he could do that would put him in that contention. I guess in theory, I think there's no chance this is going to happen. But let's say in theory, in the next 3 games, he threw for 1,000 yards and had 10 touchdowns and no interceptions.
If he does that, he's starting next year.
Even then, I don't think he is.
No, he's starting
But
next
he's in
year.
contention. But
I mean-
what would you give the odds of that happening?
0.
Yeah,
or very slim.
I was going to say 0.1%.
But like I was kind of with you. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's not going to do it. There's nothing.
Yeah.
He's not going to do it. But I'm factoring in
Yeah.
likelihood. If you take likelihood out, and this
Yeah.
question does,
Yeah.
this question is an open-ended question.
Right.
If he throws for 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, no picks, and they go 3-0, he is definitively the starter. next
I don't
season.
believe that.
How could you possibly
Because
explain
it's
to your
3
fan
games.
base? I know, but how could you explain to your fan base that what you saw doesn't matter?
I think that's the only way he could get in the mix for a starter.
And the other reason that I say that is,
Yeah.
who the hell is going to start at quarterback?
You know what cracks me up about this?
Yeah.
This is exactly why I said he needed to start earlier. This is exactly
No,
why.
I agree with that too. So we would have
Because
more
you
work.
know what Jameis is. They never believed in Jameis. I sat here every week and told you
did.
guys they tried to trade him and they demoted him.
Yeah.
They've never shown any sort of commitment to him.
But wouldn't you
even through the
agree
good times.
They thought they clicked onto a lucky star.
I
at a
think that they
point.
rode a hot hand for a while with him.
And I think that they were also like, hey, well, who the hell knows? Maybe this is going to be. And then the Tiger always reverts to his stripes.
This is exactly why I said start him earlier,
But
because you
wouldn't
know
3
what
games
Jameis
be-
is.
I mean,
no.
it's not. You know, look, we were fooled with Jameis in 3 games.
That's right.
But the difference is DTR doesn't bring in baggage of a season in which he threw 30 picks.
I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do it. Like,
No, and I think that too.
I've maintained all along. I don't think he's the guy, but you have to find out.
Right,
While
yeah.
he's here, use this opportunity to find. And they didn't do it. And now you got 3 games left. Now it doesn't matter. Because, I mean, he would have to play out of his mind. And even then, it's very likely it could be fool's gold. And all he could do at this point is play well enough to muck up their plans in terms of what they want to do and how they want to approach the offseason of, well, do we have a guy or do we
Well,
don't?
he's coming back no matter what. I mean, he's
Probably
under contract.
But, but had he played 5 or 6 games, it would give you more of a sample size to know what you have.
I agree with that.
You're shaking your head.
These guys don't have no plan. They ain't got no doggone plan. Like,
you know what? Right now, you're right. Because they don't know where they're drafting.
They don't know where they're drafting. And even if they do draft, even if you say it's a top, 5 pick, you ain't getting the top 2 quarterbacks in top 5. So that means you're going to have to talk yourself into one of these other guys. I threw it out on Twitter. I said, which one of these guys are you taking a look at to take rounds 2 through 7 that you're talking yourself into already?
Yeah.
And the names start coming out. The Rourke kid, Gabriel, we talked about, they wanted Aller, but he's going back to Penn State. Jackson Dart is a name that people start to throw out there. Beck, of course. So people have already started talking about the quarterbacks.
The other guys. Yeah.
So, look, could DTR be a starting quarterback next year?
Did you get Will Howard?
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you get Will Howard and did you get the kid from Syracuse that left after last year?
Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord.
I told you, that Will Howard, I told you, they love that Will Howard. They love him.
So you had people mention Will Howard.
Off top.
I
off
figured
bat.
that.
Look, you know where it was coming.
Yeah.
But could DTR be the guy in 3 games? I mean, he's going to have to play well. But let me just tell you this.
What would he have to do?
He'd probably have to throw. I don't think he has to go perfect. Say, for instance, he averages like 275 a game.
That's good.
275.
That's the new 300, isn't it?
275, and say he throws 3 games. Say he throws 8 touchdowns and maybe 3 interceptions. Now, it all depends also on what the offense looks like. It depends on if he's very efficient and he doesn't have a bunch of almost picks.
Oh, so in other words, like the Saints game. You can't have 495 and 14 points.
No. You got to get the points. See, what he has to do.
395.
What he has to do is he has to get points on the board and they lose the game because of the defense. If you do that and he puts up numbers and they're like, well, he didn't turn the ball over. He used his legs. He scrambled. He didn't throw the ball and get a bunch of almost picks and he put touchdowns on the board. People will start to look at those 3 games because, look, the honest part about it is we looking for somebody. It's 145 right now.
There's a great opportunity in front of them.
145, closing time. Last
Everybody
call
looks
for
better.
alcohol. Everybody looking good right now.
Hey, 10 she's a 2, 2 she's a 10.
145?
145.
What's 145?
145 p.m.
Morning. That's last call for
He's
alcohol.
saying beer goggles.
In the
Do you all
morning.
have beer
I thought you were
goggles
talking
on?
about DTR's weight.
No, he 145 too, and he probably only gonna throw for 145 yards. So
probably.
But here's the thing. I tell you what. I'm interested in seeing it because right now there's no good options. The great thing for him is if they're bringing all these guys back, which it looks like they might bring Winston back, they may bring Deshaun Watson back. Everybody does not want Deshaun Watson to play. That's one strike.
No.
Jameis Winston throws a bunch of picks, and they've already signaled they know what that is. That's
I don't
another
think
strike.
the Browns are going to sign Winston.
I don't
Okay.
either.
Well,
I
in
don't
that
either.
case, that leaves.
If he's not your starter,
Yeah.
you know.
So that means DTR is on the roster because he's under contract.
well, I think he has to be on the
Probably.
roster. He's under contract.
So you got the inside track. You think they're gonna play Watson over him? He was already a second-team quarterback.
No, I think you're going to bring somebody else in.
Okay.
yeah,
they're-
I think the quarterback for 25 is not Noah Brown.
And I've always said it's better to be in the building than not be in the building.
Sure.
Because you know what I am. I mean, depending on what Sam Darnold does, depending on what one of these rookies do, I'd rather be DTR than a rookie looking to play for the Browns.
Yeah. The Browns have no shot.
No
at
shot at
Darnold.
Sam.
None?
Darnold. None.
He's
I
getting
didn't
over
know.
$100 million. He's going to get more than Baker got.
Yeah, you won't get more than
I
Baker
would
got.
think.
The
right?
latest
I
real
think he'd be
GM,
right at or slightly above.
the latest real GM projection is Sam Darnold looking to make $52 million a year.
Oh, my
Just a heads up.
God.
well, what kind of world are we living in?
On 1 year.
Guys, if that's the case, okay,
Yeah.
and Sam Darnold equals 50, then what are we printing Monopoly money now?
This is crazy.
Good for him. I don't know. I don't think he's going to get $50 million a year, but what did Baker get? 30, right?
Well, you know
Yeah,
why?
you got 3 for
taking
100.
into that account their
Okay.
projection, Mike, I wonder if what they're doing is looking at the fruit on the tree. If there's no fruit on the tree, the apples are worth a lot more money.
I have no idea. If
right now, that quarterback tree has no fruit on it. So the fruit that is there
that's right.
is worth, it's supply and
There's
demand.
going to be 10 teams interested in Sam Darnold next year.
And that's what's going to drive the price up.
I mean, this guy has 3,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions.
Those are Baker's.
104.9 rating. They gonna pay. Somebody gonna pay him a lot of money.
God,
I'm paying
Off
it.
1 year.
I'm gonna pay it. If I ain't got a quarterback,
Baker got 33. It's a year later. Darnold's played a little better probably than Baker played last year. Not a lot better, but a little. I would think he'd get $40 million a year. Plus, they're 11. What are they? 12-2.
they ain't lost.
They're 12-2. Yeah.
He's a former top 3 pick.
Baker at least had like good moments over his first couple of years.
Yeah,
Darnold has sucked.
He had stink on him. That was it.
Yeah, but coming in, I think there were a lot. I think going into that draft, there were more teams that liked Darnold than liked Baker.
Hey man, today's price ain't yesterday's price,
really?
bro.
I think so. This is I don't know that for sure.
If you put you putting them in, and if I'm Minnesota, I'm thinking like this. Man, look, I got enough cap space. I ain't paying nobody. I'm about to franchise you. I'm about to franchise you.
They might.
And
Well, it'd be less than $50.
it's going to be less than 50.
I don't know.
And I got JJ McCarthy.
Well,
I can bring him
isn't
back
it an
slow.
average of the top 5? There aren't 5 guys making $50 million a year at quarterback.
Oh yeah, they got. I think there are now.
I don't think so.
I'll tell you one sec.
Find
Yeah.
out what the franchise tag would be for a quarterback.
I mean, Mahomes
Maybe it is
is
50.
Mahomes is going to skew everybody else anyway.
He is. Yeah.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys making over 50.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And then you got Kyler Murray at 46. Mahomes is the 14th highest paid quarterback
What?
at 45.
Yeah,
What'd
because
you
he
say?
signed his contract a while ago.
Mahomes is the 14th highest paid quarterback on
Wait a
an
minute,
average
who's number
annual
one?
per year basis.
Is
Dak
Josh
Prescott.
Allen number 1?
Oh, Dak.
That Prescott,
Dak.
Prescott.
I
Oh
forgot
yeah,
about
Dak.
that. I forgot about that.
Dak.
So
You guys are shocked that quarterbacks make a lot of money?
That's just
mean,
creeped up on. I remember when the bar was $30 million and then
Yeah, but the
$40 million.
cap has continued
I didn't
to go
realize
up, too.
that a third of the league
Yeah.
quarterbacks were making $50
It's
million. That means you're going to have to squeeze another guy onto
You
this
know what?
roster.
Minnesota should just franchise him.
I told
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Well, yeah,
franchise
you'd
him.
be stupid not to.
Because I would not want to. I would not want to marry Sam Darnold.
And if
No,
he does
and that's
it,
why. So just
but if
date
he
him
does
for
it
another
again
year.
next year, then you pay him.
Yes, then you don't mind
yeah.
paying him
Right,
because
right,
it's
right.
not fool's gold.
And then you
There are
can
still
trade
And then
people-
you trade McCarthy.
There are
yeah.
still people that are not convinced that this is Sam Darnold.
I'm not. I'm one of those
And
people.
I'm in that class too. I'm not convinced. I think
I wouldn't be the team that gave him that money, but
No.
franchising him makes a lot of sense because if he did it for 2 years, I'd buy in because he had the pedigree going in.
Right.
And so 2 years in a row, I'm in.
maybe he's turned the corner. He's right. He's with the right quarterback coach, the right offensive
Sure.
coach.
Can you imagine Derek Anderson having that 1 year and then giving him $50 million based on that?
Yeah,
1
well,
year?
that
Guys, Mitchell.
Scott Mitchell.
Scott Mitchell.
Somebody paid him. It wasn't
the
even a full
Dolphins.
year.
No,
It was like a half a season.
No, because I think Marino went down in game 1 of that
Detroit
season
paid
with the
him.
Achilles. I
Yeah.
think it was early in the year, but he played his
Okay.
tail off
Yeah,
and
yeah,
got massively paid.
Marino got hurt here, didn't he? I think that was here.
So
I think it was here.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
McNuggets, you take a look. You take a look at them free agent quarterbacks that's available.
We're gonna get to that next topic. So
Oh, it's-
let
all
right,
me
go
just
ahead,
put a
Mike.
pin.
It's
I wanna
not-
put a
It's
pin
a
on that
who's
before we
who of.
move.
They're all going to get progressive deals with the backup quarterback.
I want to ask you this one thing, and then we'll move on to other bridge option quarterbacks that I know Bull hates, but I'm curious what you guys think on this person.
This is
DTR,
embarrassing.
we saw him start against Pittsburgh last year. He won that game 13-10. He started against Denver the following week, got concussed. This will be his first start since then, his third start in his career. We talked about the best case scenario, realistically speaking, against a not great Bengals defense that is playing better of late. What do you expect from DTR on a realistic level Sunday against
Well,
Cincinnati?
I've approached it this way. What are the chances that he does what he needs to do to win the job? I thought that's the way the question was written. Maybe not.
No, I'm asking just a separate
Yeah.
question now. We
Oh,
talked about what he
okay.
had to do. I'm just saying now, what do you think
Well,
happens Sunday?
I would give. I expect he would need to go for 300 each game, 3 touchdowns each game, no picks each game.
No, right.
What do you
there,
expect?
there is a 0.1% chance that he does
Yeah,
that.
right.
So what am I expecting? 175 yards passing, and that's as they're chasing a number on a scoreboard because Cincinnati's going to play pinball. And then you probably think that he'll throw 1 or 2 picks, at least 1. He's thrown 1 in every game. So maybe a touchdown, 2 picks, and $175 is a realistic line for what I expect for him.
Yeah, I mean,
That's really
I'm right
close.
there with
Yeah,
you.
that's really close to what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
180, 185, no touchdowns and a pick.
Oh, no touchdown.
Maybe one touchdown, but he's
I think
going to turn the ball over.
so much.
Yeah.
To try to
Again, the
catch
Bengals.
I hope they
defense is not
do.
very good.
Like, see what you have.
Yes, that's right. We don't want to see him hand off. We want to see him drop back and read defenses and make
Right.
throws.
And who are you handing off to? You going to give Jerome Ford 20 carries? I mean, he's never done that.
The Browns might not have 20 carries as a team.
Yeah, I mean,
They may not.
we'll see. Now we know that for whatever reason, Joe Burrow at times has struggled against the Browns. The
Yes.
Browns have played better. There's no other team in football that Joe Burrow has struggled against routinely.
Well,
Not that he's never had a bad game against anybody else, but there's no other team in football.
If that happens Sunday, he needs to go to a witch doctor and get the curse
I don't know what it
lifted
is.
because
I don't think he will Sunday.
they have
and
nothing-
he has had some good games against the Browns, but not a lot.
the Browns have nothing to play for.
Yeah.
The Bengals still have playoff hope.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason for
Yeah.
Cincinnati to lose this game.
I actually think the Bengals have a decent shot at making the playoffs if they win out.
Well, their schedule is favorable.
You laid
right?
out the path the other day.
Well, here's what
It's
they got to do
very
now.
doable.
Now that the Chargers won last night, the Bengals need to win out, which is Browns, Broncos, and
Because that'll be a playoff game for the
right,
Broncos
and the
too.
Steelers.
Ooh, okay. I thought
Okay, it's
their
not
schedule-
favorable.
No, it's
We'll
not
see.
favorable.
But if they win out, the only other things they need are one loss in the final 3 games from the Colts. The Colts have to lose 1 game.
Very doable.
They will.
One loss in the final 3 games for the Dolphins.
They will.
Doable.
And the
Well, now remember that the Dolphins get us.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. And the Broncos have to lose to the Chiefs the last week of the season.
And that's very doable.
That's doable, but the Chiefs may have the 1 seed locked up.
They may have.
Now the Chiefs are so good that even with Carson Wentz, they could beat the Broncos in the final game. But who
what's
knows?
what's the tie break between the Bills and the Chiefs?
The Bills
on
would have the tie break, so I'm rooting for the Chiefs to lose this week, and the
Yeah,
Bills,
so-
because I want that game to matter. I want the Steelers to have nothing to play for in Week 18.
Yes, you're
and
right.
the Chiefs to have something. To
Hey,
play
it
for.
could happen. I mean, it's crazier things have happened.
Well, if the Steelers beat the Ravens this week, the division's over.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And they're not going to get the 1 or 2.
No, so they'd be kind of locked into the 3
They
seed.
would be locked in, and they would
Yeah.
rest their guys against Cincinnati,
Right.
and that would help you. Now,
Well,
we
give
talked
me
about
your
this
DTR
yesterday.
predictions real
Their
quick.
defense is 29th. They're not doing anything if they get to the playoffs, but
I'm not convinced of that because I think you win
well,
with
you're
offense.
a fan. You're not supposed to be.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't
Bull,
think
give
they
me
go
your
to the Super
DTR
Bowl.
predictions real quick.
What's that?
I think
me
they,
your,
they
DTR
both
predictions.
said that they expect.
Yeah, I'm with Jay. It's like,
G, do you vary greatly from 175, 1 touchdown and 2 picks?
Nah, it might. Tops is 200, 205. I think he throws an interception. He may throw a touchdown. I think he may lose a fumble too.
If you had to bet for DTR under 100 yards or over 300 yards, that's your only options.
I'd go under 100
I'd go over 3.
You go over 3?
Yeah.
because of the kind of game that it's going to be.
Listen, this is the only thing I'll say.
Yeah.
He had a great camp. They loved what they saw out of him in camp. It's camp, I know.
I know, but they've now seen him
when
in
you're
a number of games,
but
and
when
he
you're
hasn't
put-
looked good.
But when
Well, not this year.
they threw
No,
him to the wolves against the Bengals. Again, they told him to be ready. They didn't tell him what
Yeah.
to be ready for. I'm serious.
That's
absurd.
why.
It
Like
is.
this is just as
No,
crazy.
we
man.
went back and looked yesterday, and all of his starts, he had virtually no notice.
He has a week of preparation now. All I'm saying
All right.
is,
Yeah.
Deshaun looked broken at camp. We talked about that. I
Yeah.
told you there's something weird going on in that camp. They never believed in Jameis. They tried trading Jameis because they like the kid. So throw him out there. He's had a full week of preparation. Throw him out there on the road
You know, I
against
might be
division
with you,
opponents.
Jay.
See.
You've changed my mind.
There you go.
And here's why. Bull could go out there and throw for 100 yards. I really think you could.
Well, it's not
Yeah,
get crazy.
100 is not a high bar.
No, it's. I mean, when was the last time
He
you
would
saw a guy
die.
for a full 4 quarters throw for 80 yards? Take the Browns out of it.
I was going to
mean,
say, Jay, don't ask that question here.
I know.
You know the answer to
It
that.
almost never happens.
By the way, Jameis is the backup and not Bailey Zappi. I know we talked about that early in the
that
week,
was
but
confirmed as well.
Yeah.
Did that surprise anybody?
No.
I thought somebody had said earlier in the week that they thought Bailey Zappi would be the backup, but I don't remember who it was.
I don't. Why would you embarrass Jameis that way? He didn't do anything wrong.
Nah, that's true.
No.
Why would you? You wouldn't. Like, there's no reason to.
Well, the only reason it wouldn't be punitive towards Jameis. It would say, "What is Bailey Zappi today?"
Well,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know what Bailey Zappi.
Well, we think we do.
Yeah, there's
Bailey
the
Zappi
Browns.
hasn't played much more than DTR.
There's
has
plenty-
he?
Bailey Zappi's crescendo was his game against the Browns.
Oh,
killed him.
and
yeah.
I bet a lot of guys can say that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a crescendo. I think that was a one-hit note, and then he's just been nothing since.
Well, that would make it his crescendo.
Mike, can you say that word 3 times fast?
Crescendo, crescendo, crescendo.
All right.
Nailed it.
Very
But that
good.
would be his crescendo. That would be his apex.
Yeah, well, crescendo, you have to have a build-up. There was no build-up. It was just arrive and then dead on arrival.
Well, that's
It
Hey,
was
that's
man,
a
true.
hey,
one-day
Ben, we
thing.
can't keep talking about build up, man. Come on now.
See, that's the pause epidemic we talked about.
That is pause epidemic.
That was over pause. We're going to get
That's
to a
pause
different.
derangement syndrome. There you go.
We're going to get to a different quarterback question in a sec. This next topic is brought to us by the college football playoff. It's that time of the year. Bull is excited to watch the college football playoff games tonight. And with the newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting, high-flying excitement that you love. TNT Sports coverage of the college football playoff begins December 21st, starting with the college football playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into the first matchup between SMU and Penn State. That game's at noon. Then at 4 o'clock, it is Clemson looking to upset Texas. Don't miss a moment of the action. You can watch all the action on college football playoffs presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and HBO Max. So we've talked about a lot of bridge quarterback options. We just talked about Sam Darnold there for a second.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Real
Can I
quick.
interest you in another?
Really
Didn't
quick.
we already talk about this ridiculousness yesterday?
No, we did not. Can I
my
interest you
God.
in another Minnesota Vikings quarterback who has ties to Kevin Stefanski, who's making a comeback as a potential bridge option next year? Teddy Bridgewater has not been a starter since 2021. He led his high school
Patently
alma
absurd.
mater to a 6A Florida State title this season, and now he's coming back to the NFL. Jay, you talked about the option or the reality that there are not a ton of options on the quarterback market. So what about a possible reunion between Teddy Two Gloves and Kevin Stefanski?
You know what I think went down? I think during one of his practices in high school, Teddy got to zinging the ball around, throwing posts or whatever he was doing. And his 16-year-old DBs are like, "Damn, coach, you still got it."
It's like the Jim Morris movie.
That was my next line. It's like the rookie.
Yeah.
And then I think Teddy went home and said, "Man, babe, I got to tell you, I was slinging it today. I don't even feel sore. I was hitting those 40-yard dots." And he started throwing a little bit more at practice.
Yeah.
And more of the DBs were like, "Coach, I think you still got it." Then they won the state championship, and then he's like, "I think I still got it." And my next question is there any chance Fran Tarkington's still available?
That's right. Now,
At what point do we draw the line on these dudes?
In fairness to Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think he retired because he had to. I think he retired because he didn't want to play anymore.
Well, I could be misremembering this.
Yeah.
To me, it was like he had stepped on a landmine. He was
always hurt.
riddled.
Sure.
Always
But
hurt.
he has a great reputation as like a player, like as a good guy.
Sure.
And I'm sure some team would love to have him as a veteran backup, but nobody's going to start him. But I bet some team will take him on as a backup, even with the injuries.
How old?
He's not that old.
No, he's 30 years old. Just turned 30.
And he's only been retired
32.
a year. I thought he had been out longer. He hasn't started in a while. But his great reputation, it's silly to talk about him as a starter and a bridge quarterback. But I bet you somebody will take him as a backup.
I would bring him into camp at least if I was a team with a young quarterback. And
Right, he's a good influence on
at
young
least have
players.
that
but
6
not
weeks
for the Browns.
with him.
He-
No.
He would be like a second coach in the quarterback
yeah.
room.
See, this is why I hate this, man. This is why they need to name a quarterback. I don't care who it is. But, bro, we be getting laughed at. Teddy Bridgewater, we just might as well bring up any old quarterback.
Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, there you go.
Blame Mike.
I bring him
G.
into camp, Jay.
No, give him a shot.
Give him an opportunity.
Blame Mike.
He can
This
sit
is
behind
not-
a rookie and stop. Just give me still.
Hey, the Browns
stop.
are not the only team that need a quarterback. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks.
Well, look, we talked a minute ago. The going rate for good ones is $50 million a year.
McNuggets, all you have to do is just blindly cover what they look like and read the resume, and they're all some version of Flacco and Jameis Winston.
Well,
you've already had all of them. Yeah. They're the same person.
Well, let's talk about the teams that need quarterbacks for a minute. And then let's see. Could we sidebar here, Mike, for a minute?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So
Anything that gets us off talking about Teddy Bridgewater, I'm in
Teddy
favor
ball
of.
games?
So
this all
team-
ties back to Teddy Bridgewater.
teams
That's
that need quarterbacks, in theory, okay, the Jets. We don't know what
Giants.
Aaron Rodgers, what's going to happen with him. You've got.
He's under contract for next year, right?
I think so.
Yes, he
Yeah,
is.
the
But
big
I'm going to
question
count.
is, does
I'm
he
going to
want
count the Jets as a team that needs a quarterback.
Giants.
Well,
you're
Pittsburgh. I mean,
No.
No, I think they've settled on Russ, haven't they?
he's a free agent.
They're going to
Isn't
pay
he?
him.
Wow, he just signed a 1 year there?
He did, yeah.
I think
Wow.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're gonna
technically
pay him.
Pittsburgh.
They're going to
Yeah.
pay him.
All right. Tennessee,
Yeah.
Yes.
Jacksonville. They paid Lawrence, so they're going to keep him. That's 3. The Raiders, that's 4. Giants, that's 5.
Those are going to be taken care of with rookies.
Saints.
The Saints is 6.
Do you think the Colts come to the realization that
No.
Richardson
Not
is
yet.
not
I think they
in?
give him one more year.
One more
they?
year.
They will a year later because he's
What
not.
about in Carolina?
Carolina? I
No.
would stick with Bryce
They're
Young
gonna
if I
stick
were
with
them.
Bryce
I think
Young.
you
They
kind of
will.
have to.
They'll stick
He's
with
shown
Bryce
a
Young.
little promise this
Yeah.
year. So still 6.
But Richardson has shown me nothing.
All right, so it's and maybe the Rams, maybe Seattle.
No,
I don't know.
No, I wouldn't put
How
them
many
on
years
the
does
list.
Stafford have left?
I don't know, but he's still playing.
All
at a
right,
very,
and
very
the
high
Browns,
level.
of course. So that's 7 teams that need a quarterback.
Really 6, because I would take. I understand why you put
Yeah.
the Steelers on, but I would take.
And the Vikings. Okay, but we're going to say Darnold goes back to the Vikings.
And they
Yeah,
got McCarthy.
assume that.
And they
We'll
got
take
McCarthy.
the. We'll take the.
And if
Steel-
he doesn't go, then one other team will come off the list because they'll have filled their need.
Right. All right. So let's take the Steelers off the list and let's take the Vikings off.
So what
the
did
list.
you give you 5?
So
or
we
6?
have the Jets, the Browns,
the Giants, the Raiders.
the Titans, the Raiders,
The Giants.
Saints.
and the Saints.
Okay, so
that's
that's
6
6
teams.
6.
So who are the potential starting quarterbacks? We'll say Cam Ward and Shador Sanders are 2 of the 6.
Yes.
Yep.
Right? Then the other 4, who are the other 4 starting quarterbacks? Is Jameis going to be a starter somewhere?
No.
Teddy Bridgewater?
No, come on, Mike.
Sit down.
He's already sitting.
Back to your room.
Is Justin Fields going to be a starter somewhere?
Could
Probably.
be. Has a better chance than the 2 names
If I'm
you just
Justin
mentioned.
Fields, I go back to Pittsburgh. Why
Stay
would?
as the
Why would?
backup?
Yes.
And Russell Wilson's older eventually.
Yes.
You know.
Why? Fields has already been in a toxic, awful environment.
Yeah.
He's in a
You
great
want
spot.
to go to one of these bad teams?
Why would just go back to Pittsburgh?
I actually think
Yeah,
that's a smart
that makes
move.
perfect sense.
And,
Yeah.
and there's some security there, and he could just he's not going nowhere.
So who else? Carson Wentz? Somebody
God.
giving him a chance to start?
No.
I'm
Daniel
not-
Jones is Daniel Jones. I bet you Daniel
Derek
Jones
Carr.
gets a chance.
Is Derek Carr a starter still?
Yes.
Saints owe him $30 million next year.
So Derek Carr might be back. With
I
the
would
Saints.
put Carr and Jones on that list. I think Daniel
30
Jones
million
gets a starting job
quarterback
next year.
these days is a deal.
As ugly as it's been the last few weeks, I'd rather Jameis be my starter than Daniel Jones.
I'm not touching Daniel Jones
Daniel
with nobody.
sucks.
I wouldn't pay him. With
I'm
your
not
money.
saying bring him to Cleveland. I'm saying he's going to be
Yeah.
on one of those teams.
I'll echo
Yeah.
that, Bull. I
Yeah.
would say that give me Jameis, and here's why. I think that Kevin Stefanski, with another year with Jameis,
Yeah.
can finally get him to understand, don't throw the ball to the other team.
Well, it hasn't worked in 10 years.
Well,
don't
it
know.
hasn't worked with Stefanski in a couple of months. Maybe with another year.
Yeah.
And,
You
know-
and the
you know-
reason I say that is because, and this is what always pulls me in on Jameis, the sexy upside to his game. If I showed you just his highlight reels, now you could say this about a lot of guys.
Yes, you could.
But his highlight reel looks different than a lot of guys' highlight reels. His highlight reel is spectacular.
Yeah. Well, and in the end, if the Saints are going to have Carr back, and you assume, and then two of the 2 worst teams are going to end up with Shador and Cam Ward.
Now you're down to
That's
3.
3 teams holding the bag with really nobody. Nobody that you want to start.
You know how you sell me on Jameis next year? Fire Ken Dorsey, put Kevin's offense back in, put him under center as a play-action quarterback.
Oh, God, I'm all in on that.
And then
because
I'll buy
we saw
in.
what that looked like with Flacco, and it adds another
cool with
element to Jameis's game.
But again,
was he a
Flacco
good
threw
play
had
action?
as many turnovers as
Did
Jameis.
I mentioned that? I talked to a couple guys about that
Yeah.
Monday, and I said, why is it? I think I said this Monday.
I think you did say it Monday.
I said, why is it? Joe would throw an interception last year, and it was like, no big deal.
Yeah.
And Jameis throws one this year, and it just feels like
I
it's
felt like
devastating.
it was the time Jameis threw them.
Well, the responses I got was, number one, we were playing way better last year than we are this year.
Browns
And
had a
number
much better
2,
defense.
yeah, but that didn't really come up. I was talking more to the
Well,
offensive
that
guys.
leads into why they were better.
But it just
Flacco was
felt-
5-2 or whatever, and Jameis is 2-5.
And they just felt like with Flacco, all right, well, we're going to score on the next drive. It doesn't matter. We're going to score on the next
Yeah.
drive. And that feeling just doesn't exist this year. So, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder what the frequency of interceptions are now to Jameis Winston's time in Cleveland this year to Joe Flacco's time last year.
I'll look it up during Mary Kay's interview. I'll have the
Okay.
answer
Is
to
it?
that.
Are they throwing interceptions with the same frequency?
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
asking.
You just looked at it the other day,
we
Mike.
looked at it the other day.
And I'm not
I'll
asking
look up
total
their
numbers. I'm
attempts.
asking per attempts.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll have that number. I think I'm also going to throw in a topic every show from now to the end of the new year of
About
could this
Teddy?
player be a bridge quarterback? Because I'm looking at the list of free agent quarterbacks and like, can we talk ourselves into Shane Bichelle, Brett Rippon? You want a Jeff Driscoll reunion?
Jiminy Christmas.
How about Kyle Trask?
Saints
Josh
is-
Dobbs back
hey.
on the market. Easton Stick.
It's dark in them streets.
Guys, we're
dark.
going to do it. We're going to do it. No,
getting
I'm just
late.
kidding. We're not really
It's
going to
Those
do
are
it.
all
late.
It is dark in them
Horrid
streets.
days.
Getting late.
Let's get to our next topic, something a little more enjoyable to talk about. We have a new sponsor on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Rocket Money is with us. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? It's definitely happened to me before. I had a few subscriptions I didn't even realize I was still paying for, but thanks to Rocket Money, it made it so easy to track them all down. It's almost like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved over $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Just go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Jim Schwartz has not historically shadowed his top cornerback on top receivers. Jamar Chase is playing better than any receiver in football this year. Two-part question. A, will we see Jim Schwartz change up his philosophy and allow Denzel to shadow Jamar Chase? And part two, if he doesn't, is Jamar Chase going to have 500 yards on Miles Harden, Cam Mitchell, Khalif Halasi, and whoever else they have on the other side of the field? Is there any chance they can stop him if it's not Denzel? Bull, it's your guy. You want to start us off?
You know, I'll tell you, Denzel has played better against Jamar Chase than any cornerback. He's done a really nice job against him, but I mean, the way Jamar Chase is playing right now, he's been pretty unstoppable against anybody. I'm expecting him to have look at that. He has a chance to win the triple crown of receivers, which not a lot of guys have done.
Only happened 4 times ever before.
Yeah.
I could have taken him in our fantasy draft, and I took Anthony Richardson instead.
I've got him on my other team, and I'm 12-2 with him. And
I got him in one of my
He's
playoffs.
been a fantasy.
I mean,
brutal.
Especially the last
incredible.
6 weeks.
Yep.
So I listen. We know what the Browns do. They don't have one guy shadow a guy. So yeah, Denzel will challenge him sometimes, but there's nobody else in the Browns secondary that can have a chance against Jamar Chase. So it will be interesting to see what they do. You can't play man-to-man with anybody else against Jamar Chase. The problem when facing the Bengals, and again, for the Browns it hasn't been that big a problem, is that Higgins is really good too. So it's a tricky thing. I'll be curious to see how the Browns decide to defend it, if they use any changes to what they've been doing. But I'm expecting Jamar Chase to have another big game.
I think Jim Schwartz is the least likely defensive coordinator to change what he's doing. What we've seen from him is what he does.
Yep.
And I think there's a level of arrogance that goes along with that. Nope, this is what we're going to do. You're just going to have to beat it. I think this game is leading up to the perfect storm for the Bengals to break out in a big way their funk against Kevin Stefanski's Browns. For whatever reason, the Taylor-Stefanski matchup it's felt mostly one-sided.
Yeah.
Which has been head-scratching to all of us, because I think in most of these games, most of us would agree that the Bengals have the edge in talent. But somehow the games are close, and the Browns find a way to win, and win some of them big.
Yeah,
but I think
this would be the first time the Bengals will have swept them with Stefanski
if it happens.
Taylor, if it happens.
So, I think that it's late in the season. The level of quit, I think, goes up for those teams that have 3 wins, because it's actually beneficial to lose.
Yeah.
Not that they'd be thinking that way, but they also know that
They're
that's
thinking
the
about
safety
Cancun.
net.
They ain't thinking
Sure
about
they are.
the draft. They're thinking
Sure they
about
are.
Cancun.
But also, as an organization, it doesn't mean anything at all if you win. It can be punitive, or if you lose, it can be punitive if you win. And I think that the Bengals are getting sick and tired of hearing about this, even though they did win the game earlier this year.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow still understands that his record against Cleveland is not great. And because Schwartz probably won't shadow him with Denzel, which is what I think every other defensive coordinator in the league would do.
Yeah.
But he's not going to do that, and I think that Chase is going to have a big game, and I think this one could be the one that's not 24-21. This one could get ugly.
I'm going to tell you what. Listen, it looks like there's no – if you have a competitive game and you lose, there might not be no downside to losing because you want draft position and it's a meaningless game. But I'm going to tell you what, there is some downside if you get blown out. And the Bengals, been hearing, you had Greg Newsome, Emerson, Denzel Ward been chirping, doing all this stuff for 3, 4, 5 years. And if they come out here and get 200 put on them, Martin Emerson is running the slowest he's ever ran, and that's still slow. He's gonna be on T. Higgins, and if they don't shadow him, he's gonna get Jamar Chase. Listen, that could be devastating, and I'm expecting the hamstrings to tighten up a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm on the injury list, Jed Wills is calling him right now. Hey, bro, you might want to tell him you make that business decision. You know you got Higgins and Chase coming up late in the season. Don't do it to yourself. It's too close to draft time. They looking at corners and everything. Nah, you go out here and get 60 put on you away. It looks nasty, Jason. It looks. Hey, I'm just saying. The narrative starts. Well, I mean, the Browns and Joe Burrow will continue to pour it on because we've been talking for 2 years. This is the great opportunity to get that get back, and that get back can look crazy, and especially if DTR comes out and looks like a rookie. Like if he gives you one of them 75-yard games with 3 turnovers and shell-shocked, and then you got to go back to Jameis Winston. If you got to go back to Jameis Winston in one game, that makes you look incompetent because they're going to say, why did you even take him out to start with? If DTR knocked out in the third quarter looking crazy, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry. That's nasty work. You might not survive that one.
Jason?
Look,
You got nothing?
I
What can I
got
say
it.
here?
I mean, I agree with what you guys said. They're not. Jim Schwartz isn't going to change now. With 3 games left, he ain't changed in 2 years. He ain't changed in 10 years, 20 years. He is who he is. He
does
plays the
what he
way he
does.
plays.
And as good as Joe, I'll tell you a couple of interesting things about the Bengals offense that are different. Number one, as good as Joe Mixon was, Chase Brown is dynamic.
Yeah, he is.
Since he became the full-time guy, he's been one of the best running backs in the league. He's a great pass catcher. He's over, 1,150 yards total. But if you look at his numbers, early in the year, he's splitting carries with Zach Moss. And then Zach Moss got hurt. If you look at his numbers since Zach Moss got hurt, they're absurd. He's having a huge game every week. And even though I don't know what Mike Gesicki's numbers are, they're probably not huge. But for the first time since Joe Burrow's been quarterback, they actually have a real option at tight end. Again, Gesicki's not great,
right,
but at least he's like a legitimate NFL tight end.
They use him.
As opposed to the nothings they've had there in the past.
Yeah.
So
I got a question. This is just looking at it from a big picture. How is it that we can sell ourselves on the Browns being competitive when they unequivocally have the third or the last place offense in the division? Like it's not even close.
That's what we do here,
I mean,
though.
and the Bengals, they're not world beaters right now. They still are struggling to get to the playoffs. And they got guys that are first in receiving and all kind of. Listen, we look at
They have the best offense in the division.
If the Bengals were 8-6, Joe Burrow would be in the MVP conversation. If they were 8-6 instead of 6-8,
He's played as well as an MVP plays.
I just don't. The talent level on his team, I just don't know how you sell that to somebody. Like I mean.
Would you agree, though, that we fool ourselves a lot?
Oh, we've been lying for weeks.
But I don't think
years.
I think
that's what we do.
The talent
into
was not nearly as good as we thought it was. I don't think it's quite as bad as we think it is now.
No,
it's not quite as bad.
No, but what happens is the mean gets pulled down with the results.
Sure, absolutely.
And I don't know. I'm not tying that to effort, but Jay, you've been in locker rooms where teams are 8-2 and they're probably not that good, but somehow that inertia keeps going. And you've also been in locker rooms where teams are 2-8 and they're not that bad, but somehow that inertia keeps going.
Well, I would say the difference is the talent. You say the talent is not that big of a difference, but these teams have it where it counts. They got the quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they got the coach.
Oh, yeah, the talent on offense.
And the wide receivers.
and
the weapons. So it's like, we got a nice guard. We got a nice guard, but they got Lamar Jackson.
We're in a division with 2 Hall of Fame coaches.
Yeah,
and so right off the bat,
and maybe 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, maybe
MVPs and guys.
Likely.
Likely.
Right now, their careers are certainly trending that way.
It might be 3
but,
if you count Russ Wilson.
Well,
he's not a Hall of Famer.
Russell's got a Super Bowl. He's going to have to do more.
Does he have MVP?
He's never got an MVP
No, but
vote.
there's been a couple years where he was playing in that category.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
If he was in Seattle, he was on that. You couldn't have said he wasn't on that trajectory.
No, but I'll tell you this, and this is, I mean, you guys might roll your eyes at this, but if Pittsburgh wins a Super Bowl this year, he's in that conversation.
What you mean?
Probably true.
Which is crazy.
Oh, no,
It shouldn't
he's
be
in.
because of that, but you're right.
Oh, no,
No,
he's in.
well, two with two different
Two
teams.
Super
He's
very
in.
I mean,
rarely
Eli
done.
Manning's in with 2 Super
he's
Bowls.
But
in.
Eli
Yeah.
Manning was a better, and I am anti-Eli Manning Hall of Fame. I'm in the minority there, but Eli Manning was a better quarterback than Russell.
I don't know
Yes,
about
but
that.
perception
I don't
is
know.
I don't know
reality,
about
and
that.
the perception with
I don't know
him would
about
be
that.
he took 2 teams to Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I know the Denver thing went sideways.
Yeah.
But I think that was more a personality clash than it
Yes.
was
Yes.
anything
Yeah.
else.
I think his PR is just trash.
Does anybody think Steelers will go to the Super Bowl?
I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't think they.
don't
I'm with
think
him.
so.
I wouldn't rule it out. They would be number 3 on my list of teams that I think from the AFC can get there.
I don't think
But
so.
they're in the top 3.
Yeah.
So I'm
they
saying
wouldn't
they have a
make my
chance.
top 3.
Who are your top 3 right now?
Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore.
Yeah, see, I just don't
I'd
know
put
about
Pittsburgh over
Baltimore's
Baltimore.
defense.
I put Pittsburgh
Man,
over
we ain't
Baltimore.
I'm sorry, McNuggets. We ain't never going nowhere. Let me just, you just, we not. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about it. He named the 3 names. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Josh Allen. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Joe Burrow. You still talk about the Steelers. That's 6 teams right
And
there.
you know C.J. Stroud, who's kind of had a
C.J.
sophomore
Stroud,
slump. He'll bounce back his third
Herbert
year.
is still a good
Herbert's
quarterback.
still good.
Like, where are you getting?
You got to have that
Bo
guy.
Nix looks like the real deal. It's one
where are
year,
you-
but
where are you getting
And
these?
that's why the Browns did what they did with
Yeah,
Deshaun.
but now you're not taking into account if the Browns have Teddy Bridgewater,
that
puts us in the conversation.
I mean, because he's going to make that locker room feel way more confident about them 5 wins they get.
for sure.
And do a lot in the community,
I
too.
like a nice Teddy Bridgewater, Jeff Driscoll combo. That's
could
got
work.
me hot.
That
hot
could work.
Bothered, yeah.
Nasty work.
It's never been seen before, so we
Never.
don't know what it
yeah,
would look
you're right,
like.
Jay.
Never.
It's a good point. Let's talk a little Guardians, and then we're going to bring Mary Kay on, and then we'll finish the
Yeah.
show with some Cavs. We'll talk some more Cavs in the WKYC show. Quick reminder, we have a 2-minute warning post-game show. We also put on the community tab of the YouTube page and on our Twitter page a UCSS 2024 recap / 2025 wish list poll for anyone out there. Give us some feedback, what you liked in the show, what you didn't like, how
filled
we
it
can
out
make
today.
it even better. Bull filled it out. We had over 100
Filled out a
responses
poll?
already, so we appreciate
don't
everyone.
take polls in
We put it in the
surveys.
chat. Steve, you can drop the graphic now. We're already done with that. But we put it in the chat. We're going to pin it to the chat again. And if you could fill that out for us, give us some feedback, we would very much appreciate that. The Guardians have made at least one major move this offseason. They traded Andres Gimenez. They got Luis Ortiz, back in that deal. There have been some rumors that Josh Naylor is a potential target for the Mariners, potential target for the Yankees. Do you think Josh Naylor is going to be a Cleveland Guardian next year? Or do you believe the Guardians will end up shipping him somewhere else for the 2025
I'd like to
season?
see him with the Yankees. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, it would
The
be
Rocket
fun.
Baby.
Yeah.
Hey, did I see that Riz signed with the Cubs?
No.
Oh, okay. It must have been somebody. I
This
thought
morning?
I saw that Rizzo was going back to Chicago.
I have not
I
seen
didn't see that.
Okay.
I mean, I've been paying
Yeah.
that close attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hit me last
Yeah.
night or yesterday when I saw the rumor about the Seattle move. There were no players mentioned leaving Seattle, which tells me they're prospects.
Well, maybe, but there's been a lot of rumors involving Seattle. Seattle's got the best pitching staff, starting rotation,
and they have
in
clearly
baseball.
defined holes.
And they have
they're-
a lot of holes in their lineup.
And they're an organization that goes out and fills those holes.
Yes,
the
they're
way
an
you should do
aggressive
it.
trading team.
They are a very aggressive trading team.
So,
I didn't see any names linked to it, though,
No, but so both Luis Castillo,
which I would.
I'm not saying the Guardians would get him.
Listen,
You're not getting-
do it right now.
He
You're not
said
getting-
that
you're not
yesterday.
getting
I
him for
drive him
Naylor.
I drive him to the airport.
You'd have to give up more than Naylor.
You're not getting any of Seattle's pitchers for Naylor.
No, they're not
None
going
of
to.
them.
They're not going to do it.
Not just for Naylor, of course not. But they are willing to trade, not their top guys, not Gilbert and not, what's his name?
They're going to trade Castillo. That'll be who they trade.
What's that?
They'll trade Castillo.
Yeah, but they're going to want
Now-
more in return than 1 year of control on Josh Naylor.
Yes.
Absolutely. You'd have to trade more
And they
than
can't
Naylor.
afford him anyway. They can't afford Castillo's contract. They're not going to pay that.
Well, here's
Well,
the thing.
his contract is reasonable for a top pitcher.
Reasonable by whose standards?
And Jay, here's something we haven't talked about, but I want your thoughts on this. If you sign someone to a 6-year contract, let's say,
yeah.
the Dolans are only going to have to pay 3 or 4 of those years.
Zach Meisel and I talked about that when they signed the Hemi deal. When they signed Gimenez, it's like, well, that's David Blitzer's problem.
Right.
The last couple of years on that deal. So, yeah. I mean, but And maybe moving off Gimenez allows them
to do that
with somebody else.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't know who that guy is.
I don't either, but
maybe
I
it's
think
Manzardo.
We're operating under the notion that, well, it's business as usual. They're not going to spend money. And while that still has been proven to be likely true for the next 2-3 years, I'm not sure exactly the year. I don't know when the clock started because the details were a little murky. It was like Blitzer Group can take more control each year until they eventually become majority owner. And I'm told that Dolans have no interest in being minority owners, so it would be full ownership for the Blitzer Group.
The frustrating thing, though, Jay, is that, okay, let's say even if in pie in the sky they got Luis Castillo as part of a deal for Naylor. I agree with Jason. It's unlikely. Obviously, it couldn't just be Naylor. It would have to be certainly more than that. But let's say in theory they did. That would be great. He's a great pitcher still. But you already had a lineup with a lot of holes. And as flawed in some ways as Josh Naylor is, he's still your second best hitter.
Yeah.
At least with the Gimenez trade, you could say, well, he wasn't much of a hitter.
But you're moving on and you're saying it's Manzardo's turn.
Right, but Manzardo's going to be a starter whether Naylor's here or not.
He is, and so it's whack-a-mole. You're not filling a hole.
Yeah.
You're creating another hole and filling that one, and it still leaves other holes.
Who's your second best hitter if Jose Ramirez is gone? Aquan.
Yeah, but
and who's your third best?
I don't even know. Manzardo may end up being their second best.
But what you just said is why I don't think Naylor's getting moved. I think.
Oh, you don't?
No, I think he's going to be in the lineup on opening day. You've mentioned
he doesn't
this
have a
before.
lot of trade value.
He doesn't have a lot of trade value, but the fact that there's still a lot of options out there for first base in free agency, so teams can go fill that spot. He doesn't have a ton of trade value because he's only got 1 year left. He's an eventual DH. He probably should be a DH now. So I think Josh is back in this lineup next year. That's the impression I've got. I think that they shopped him. I think that they dangled him at the winter meetings, and they saw the value that was out there. And at some point, the Guardians are really good at getting some sort of value for the asset. You can't lose the asset for nothing.
Right.
But at some point, the return has to be worth what you're giving up. And 30 home runs and 100 RBIs is incredibly valuable to this lineup. So at some point, you have to say, you know what? We may lose him next year, but we got a really good team now, and we're going to at least keep him for this year, and we'll get a compensatory pick, or we'll get something next year for him.
Yeah.
But right now, we have to go for it and at least keep him.
The reason I brought up the eventual change in ownership is because Naylor is projected to be in the 5-year, $100 million range when he becomes a free agent after next season. Those numbers are doable.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable.
I would not pay.
But I don't know that you want to commit 5 years to him.
No, I'm just saying that's what I think Sports Track or whoever it is that does these
MLB Trade Rumors is the best one out there.
Okay, I don't know what they have him projected, where they would project him. I just saw a projection of he'll likely get 5 for 100. Now, look, when you look at some of the deals, that's a bargain. Again, you're getting 30 home runs. Now, in the playoffs, he was a disaster.
Is 5 for 100 a good deal on a DH? I'm not saying yes or no.
Yes, I would do 5 for 100
I don't know
for
what
a DH.
I'd be surprised if he got a 5-year contract.
I would too. What is he,
28?
29?
He's younger than you think.
Yeah, I don't think he's 29.
You know, Mike, how old he is?
Josh Naylor, according to Pro Baseball Reference, is 27 years old.
Okay, so yeah, he
feels like he should be older than that.
And listen, 5 for 100. 5 years ago, that might have been like, whoa, Guardians or Indians would never do a deal like that. 5 for 100 in 2025, when you compare it to the 685 that Soto got or whatever that number was. Now, I know he's not the same player, but you're talking about a guy that if he can give you 30 home runs a year, that's...
But he's only hit the 30 home runs once.
Well, but he's gone up every year. I mean, he changed his game last year.
Yeah.
He clearly said, now he sacrificed average. He went down to 225 or whatever he finished.
240, I think. He was in the 240s.
Okay, he was a much better average hitter.
Yeah.
So but the sacrifice is worth it. That the Guardians basically told everybody, don't worry about the strikeouts, don't worry about the average as much. We need power.
But the Guardian, he's all uptight about DHing. I think if the Guardians are going to get in bed with somebody long term, it shouldn't be Josh Naylor.
Yeah, I think Josh is back at first next year. I don't think they're adding any more pitching. I think they're good with where they're at.
Do you think they're done?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
I don't think they're
done.
done.
I don't just mean pitching. I mean,
I think they're done.
Yeah.
I think the payroll's going to be right around what it was last year.
That's a shame. It really is. The reason I brought up the fact that there were no names mentioned in the report.
Yeah.
This guy from MLB that had the original report.
Right.
And I read it and I looked and I said, well, wow, this is interesting. The only hint of any player movement is Naylor
Yeah.
to Seattle, which tells me that it wouldn't be Castillo. It
Probably
would be
not.
a package of prospects. And here's what's driving me nuts, and it has for 20 years. And we continue to be a 4A baseball team.
Yeah.
We continue to develop stars so that when they're ready for huge spotlights and big contracts, they leave Cleveland. We're a feeder system.
Yeah.
When we make deals, we get prospects. We
develop
lose
them.
stars. And it's got to change.
Now-
it hasn't worked. It won't work. At some point, you need star power.
The only thing you guys know how pissed off I am about the lack of spending, but the only defense I'll say on that front for the Guardians is, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, a lot of the really good players that they've moved on from have not done much after they've left here, outside of Lindor.
Well, I've always maintained we get the best out of these guys.
Yeah.
You know, they especially in the 90s and even into the 2000s.
Yeah.
You know, CC Sabathia, are you going to be better from 22 to 30 or 30 to 38? The proof is in the pudding
Yeah,
on that.
right.
It's mostly 22 to 30.
Right.
Yeah.
So
well, Sabathia was still great.
he was
obviously.
great, but if
Yeah.
you look at his year by years, he was phenomenal when he was
Oh,
here.
100%.
I said last week
yeah.
I would not pay big money to a starting pitcher. I'm done
But
with that.
look
Yeah.
at Kluber, nothing after he
Yeah.
left here.
No.
Clevenger, nothing after he left
Yep.
here. Now, Bauer had a couple of good years.
You want a Cy Young?
And
He won a Cy
they
Young.
can look at you.
That's a fraud Cy Young because it
But
was
here's the
COVID.
Well,
thing.
then Bieber's a
Everything-
fraud too.
Bieber's is fraud too. Yeah, for
And
me.
people can say, well, the Guardians have won nothing. So, yes, it's a zero-sum game. Yeah, you got rid of players that haven't done anything elsewhere, but you consistently have not gotten
76
championships.
And the one thing they
76
haven't
years.
tried is going out and signing a lot of big names and keeping their stars when they become available.
Right.
One thing I should amend when I say I think they're done, they'll probably add close to spring training guys who fall through the cracks. They'll
Yeah,
add one or
you're
two
done
guys.
with
Yeah, but they're done with major
the
pieces.
Cole Calhoun, Ramon Laureano type. They'll bring those. But I don't think I think Bazana's up this summer. I think DeLauder's up early, not to start the year, but he's up probably
I don't know.
May.
You have way more faith in them than I do.
Who, Bazana?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
First of all,
I
he's
mean,
only coming up if he's playing well. in
If
the minors.
Bazana hits 220, he's not coming up.
That's right.
Right.
But, you know, in a best case scenario, Bazana's up probably this summer. DeLauder, if he could stay healthy, is probably up in May.
Yeah.
And
I had somebody that knows college baseball and minor league baseball as well as anybody tell me they think Bazana eventually has got to move to the outfield.
right now,
I know it's his
second
opinion.
base. Yeah,
He has
yeah.
to work for the Guardians.
right now it's second base. Like
One thing
they
is we clean this up before
Yeah.
Mary Kay comes in. We kind of.
Brito could move around. I think Brito's the opening day second baseman,
Oh, okay.
and then he could move to the outfield or first base. Or,
We sort of disparaged Bauer and Bieber's Cy Youngs because they happened in the COVID year.
Only I disparaged him. Nobody else
no,
did.
and then Jason said, "Well, Bieber's
Well,
is the
he-
fraud
I
too,
just-
then."
that was a
if you
counter.
go on that. Okay, so
Yeah.
the reason I say that's not fair. Everybody else pitched under those same circumstances.
I disparaged-
He was the best pitcher in that year.
Fair or foul, I disparage everything that happened in the COVID year in baseball. I disparage the Lakers championship. I think that's a joke. And even football to some degree because he played in front of no fans.
But everybody played in front of no fans.
I hear you.
I mean, it
just
was
don't-
fair for everybody. If some of those teams got to
Right.
play in front of packed stadiums and some didn't, I would say no, that's a fraud. But everybody played under the same circumstances.
But different home crowds have different effects on.
No, I agree with
We don't
that.
have to go-
but
it's the rabbit
you're
hole.
still
We're
the
never
best
gonna-
that
Sorry,
year.
Mike, fair
and
enough.
and
Yeah.
you know, the
Yes, that's fair.
circumstances were different, but they still were the best at their craft.
They were.
And I can't say that's a fraud. To me, that's just as impressive as anything else.
We're going to bring Mary Kay after a quick word from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. And with that, we'll welcome Mary Kay into the show from the Browns facility. How you doing today, Mary Kay?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Good, Mary Kay. Hey, what's the injury update on some of these guys that have been banged up this week?
Well, first of all, I'm anxious to see what happens with David Njoku. He has not practiced again this week with that hamstring injury, and that could be dicey again if Dorian has to go out there. and play without David Njoku, without Cedric Tillman. It really forces you to not be able to play that tall ball that you would want to play in the red zone and in the end zone. And I think that's why you've seen some of the interceptions that you've seen this season. So we'll have to see. They haven't practiced yet. That happens at 12:15. And so I'm not sure if anybody else is going to be back out there yet. But then also we're looking at Martin Emerson. He practiced yesterday on a limited basis, but hadn't been fully cleared from the concussion protocol yet. And then, of course, Myles Garrett was added to the injury report yesterday with a back injury. That was a little bit of a surprise, and he did not practice yesterday, and we'll have to see what his status is for today.
You know, every Bengal offensive lineman right now is, please, God, don't let Myles Garrett play.
Yeah, you're right.
Please don't let him play. He kills us.
Joe Burrow saying the same thing.
Yeah, oh, yeah, darn right he is.
Mary Kay, we
Yes,
were talking
absolutely.
earlier about the prospects next year at quarterback. I think the general consensus was, at least Jason and I agreed on this, that the quarterback of the Browns next year is not on the roster right now. Would you agree with that? And if that's true, knowing where they sit now in the draft and what the quarterback class looks like there and how thin the free agent class is this the major dilemma that it appears to be, at least to us right now?
Well, they must have some tricks up their sleeve in who they're going to bring in or who they think can come in here and be an upgrade at QB1. And that is the plan. And I've been writing that all along, even though people kind of went crazy over something I wrote last week that Deshaun's going to have a chance to come in and compete. I didn't say Deshaun was going to come in and be the starting quarterback. I said he would have a chance to compete. And that's opposed to saying, go home, Deshaun, we don't want to see you around here for this whole entire year. So, I do think that it will be someone else. I don't know if it will be a rookie that they bring in. I don't know if it will be someone that is on someone's roster right now that they're going to try to trade for, or if it will be a free agent. But I'm sure that they have a list running already. The problem is sometimes things don't work out the way that you hope or think they will. Sometimes a trade you think that you can make falls through. Sometimes a free agent you think you can sign somewhere else. So they better have a pretty comprehensive list. They better leave no stone unturned. They do need an upgrade.
Mary Kay, yesterday you were on The Fan and mentioned that Deshaun's not allowed back on the sideline yet. Is that a medical thing, that he's just not cleared to be on the sideline?
Yeah, and people kind of went a little crazy with that too. He's not been cleared to be on the sidelines because of his ruptured Achilles. And somehow something got misconstrued where people thought that I was saying that the Browns don't want him on their sidelines. And, people can just take any of your information and do whatever they want with it. And it does get to be a little bit frustrating after a while. But, yeah, he just hasn't been cleared to be on their sidelines yet. And so he's not going to be. I don't know if he will be at any of the rest of these final 3 games. Now, if he's allowed to be, I'm sure he's going to want to be, just like he came to a game last year. He was finally cleared and was allowed to come to a game after he had the shoulder surgery, but not on the field. He had to sit up in a suite, and people had a problem with that too. So it's kind of a no-win situation, but we know that with Deshaun. We know that it's a no-win situation with him no matter what.
Yeah, sidelines tend to be very dangerous places with 300-pound men running very fast, and you can't move out the way. It's happened sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, Nick wasn't allowed on the sidelines last year. I mean, it's just a team policy that they have. And maybe not every policy is as conservative as the Browns are about this, but that's just the policy that they have until the medical staff says that you're clear. And certainly coming off of a ruptured Achilles is probably not the time that you want your quarterback to be standing around on those sidelines.
I don't know, Mary Kay. I ruptured my Achilles. I was back in the studio in 8 days. I don't know what to say. I mean, listen.
They don't build them like Bull these days.
That's right. Not as tough.
Really quick, DTR, we talked about it. What does he have to do for him to be in the mix? We talked about Deshaun being in the mix to compete. We've seen Jameis Winston compete. What does he have to show in these next 3 games for the Browns to say, hey, we might have something in this guy to compete?
Well, I think one of the things that he's going to have to prove, too, just like Jameis was trying to prove and what wasn't ultimately able to do it, is that he can play clean football. Now, we know that in his career so far, Dorian has 1 touchdown against 7 interceptions, and that ratio is 0 to 3 this year. That's not going to fly. That's not going to keep you on the football field. So that's one thing that he's got to do. He's got to play smart football, aggressive football, but smart football, and try to make sure that the ball doesn't go to the other team. Now, the Bengals are the 27th ranked pass defense. They have 12 interceptions this season, so they're not, top of the list when it comes to a pass defense. This is a good opportunity for him to go out there and have a feel-good game about himself a little bit. If he can show that he's made the type of progress the Browns think he's made and that he believes he's made, then that will go a long way towards him being back next year and being part of the mix. Now, he believes that this is an audition for him for the starting job. And who's going to argue with anybody that's going to want to come in here and try to compete for the starting job? But truthfully, he's probably more in the part of the program mix than he is someone that they are thinking of as their surefire starting quarterback for next year.
Has anyone talked to him about protecting himself better? Guy gets hurt every time he gets on the field, and he plays so recklessly. I just think injuries may take him out before ability does.
Yes, they have talked to him about that. We talked to Ken Dorsey about that yesterday. And I think it's going to be tough. If David Njoku doesn't play and said Tillman doesn't play, I think that DTR might have the desire to take off running a lot. And that's when he's going to get himself into trouble, because he's going to look out there and they're going to try to double cover Jerry Jeudy and cover a lot of these guys up. And if he doesn't see anything, then he's going to want to take off running, and he's going to have to be careful. And that's not his strong suit. He loves to use those legs, and he loves to get out there and run. But as you mentioned, sometimes he doesn't do that under control. Sometimes he does it when he shouldn't, and he puts himself in harm's way, and that's just not going to work.
Mary Kay, we talked about the matchup of Denzel Ward and Jamar Chase, a matchup we'd love to see every play. But we also know the reality of it is Jim Schwartz doesn't design his defense that way, and Ward will get Chase when he lines up on his side of the field. Are you getting any indication at all that perhaps some of that may change for this game?
Well, I think part of it will depend on if Martin can play. I think that they could do some nice matchup things between Martin and Jamar. We'll have to see how they feel about it if Martin sits this one out with his concussion. If that were the case, then I think you'll see plenty of Denzel. But I just think Denzel is having a tremendous season. I've really never seen him play quite this well before. He's really locked in. I think he's definitely having a Pro Bowl campaign. It would be nice if he could get his hands on a few more footballs, but I really think that he'll probably give Jamar one of the best battles that he's had all season long.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. He has definitely played at a Pro Bowl level this year, which is good to see. Before we let you go, how do you see this one going?
Well, it's kind of tough. I mean, I think that Miles will play this game. You'd have to really, sit him. The medical staff would really have to force him to sit this one out. So I think despite the back injury, I think Miles will be out there. And they don't have starting left tackle Orlando Brown in this game. Cody Ford will slide over, play left tackle. Miles can ruin a game, and he loves to sack Joe Burrow. He has more sacks against him than anyone. And so if Miles can take over the game, then I think they have a decent chance. The defense played so well, I thought, against Kansas City. If they can have that kind of performance, the Browns have a chance. But offensively, they have got to generate some points. They've got to get something going. And that is the big X factor here. We just don't know what to expect yet from DTR.
Okay. Yeah, he loves to sack all quarterbacks.
Yep.
And he also wants that 100th sack, which he's a half sack away. He'd love to get that against Joe Burrow. Mary Kay, thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful Christmas. Happy holiday season to you, and we'll see you soon.
Same to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Orlando Brown, by the way, he's missed most of the last 2 months. He's only played one game. Cody Ford's actually done pretty good. This is probably the best offensive line the Bengals have had in front of Burrow. Not that they're great, but it's the first time it's been an adequate offensive line. By the way,
To her point, he'd rather go up against a backup
yeah,
who's
sure,
slid over than
definitely.
Orlando Brown.
But Ford's played decently, and he's been the starter for
Right.
a number of weeks. But listen, Myles Garrett's going to kick anybody's ass, whether it's Orlando Brown or Cody Ford. In the most Terry Francona move ever, the Reds have signed reliever Brian Shaw to a minor league contract.
Shut up.
Yes, they
Wow.
have. Yes,
You
they
have got to be kidding me.
He's got Shaw again.
Can't separate true love.
He loves him
Meant to
some
be.
Brian Shaw.
I literally thought you were joking.
No, minor league contract, Brian Shaw to the Reds.
Wow.
All right, let's end the YouTube show with a little Cavs talk. It is brought to us by FanDuel. You can tackle NFL and NBA action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Cavs host the Bucks tonight. The Bucks are coming off their NBA Cup championship. They're playing their best basketball of the season. We thought this could be a playoff preview and a real legitimate regular season December game to get excited about, and then we saw the line, and we realized something was fishy. So we looked at the injury report, and Dame Lillard is out tonight with a right calf strain. He played awesome on Tuesday in the Cup championship. Giannis is listed as questionable with a right knee injury. Chris Middleton's listed as questionable with a non-COVID illness. So there's a chance we get Milwaukee versus Cleveland with no Dame, Giannis, and Middleton. We talked about the NBA issues earlier this week in terms of ratings, why they're down. One of the things we said was on a night-to-night basis, you just don't know who's going to play and who's not going to play. If Lillard, Giannis, and Middleton aren't in action, it's just a big bummer for what could have been an awesome game tonight.
This is as part of the, there's been a lot of talk about what's going on with the NBA. The ratings are significantly down, and everybody talks about, the way the game is played. That, you got guys like Anthony Edwards who doesn't take the ball to the basket anymore, and fans want to see the great athleticism in these guys, and if they're always shooting threes, you miss that. But another part of the problem is that guys don't play. That doesn't happen. Like in football, your guys, if they're healthy, they play.
Well, there's 17 of them.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Baseball, we're used to, even the great players are going to sit once in a while.
Right.
But baseball's not a sport that is, it's more about the team than the individual player in most cases. But in basketball, again, this may be revisionist history, but in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, your stars played every game if they were healthy. Every game. And now they don't. And I understand the reasons they're doing it, but just like with baseball where they baby pitchers and we have more pitching injuries than ever, doesn't it seem like, again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misremembering.
No, boy, you're right. I have the numbers.
They baby the players as much as ever in the NBA. They sit, and yet we have more key injuries of great players in the NBA playoffs, it seems, than we ever had.
Well, I have the numbers. Give me 1 sec to find them. You are actually right.
It feels like
you guys go. I'll find the number. But more players have missed games this year already than ever before, and load management and
It
rest.
sucks. I want to see the Cavs play
this,
teams
Bull,
at their best.
Because I agree with you. I think it's two-pronged failure here. I think part of it is that.
Yeah.
And by the way, we had Cavs versus Bucks. I thought that game was here.
It is.
It is.
Oh, okay.
They're home tonight.
Okay. It should be listed Bucks versus Cavs then.
Oh, well, ignore how we did that.
Okay,
yes,
it
is.
Because it was actually going to change the way I approach this.
No, it is at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, 7:30 NBA TV.
Okay, that's what I thought. Cavs fans want to go to this game for one reason. They want to see us play one of the top teams in the conference.
That's
they
right.
want to see Giannis.
Yes.
And they want to see Dame. And they want to see Middleton. That just like when Cleveland goes to San Antonio, they want to see our stars.
That's right.
So I do think that now that's attendance driven because you're spending a lot of money. And you really, really get upset when you show up and you find out this is a rest night for their team. But I think it has more to do with this what the game has become.
Yeah, it's both. Now
I was going to ask you guys. Okay, so attendance is down 25, ratings down 25%. What percentage of that do you think is the style of game that they're giving us, and what percent is the players are playing less than ever before? I would think it's more 75% of the decline has to do with the style of game that they're playing. I don't like watching it anymore. I'll be perfectly honest.
The Cavs are one of the few teams that are fun to watch because they move the ball at least.
They are. But when I watch other teams, like for instance, the game that they played the other night against Denver, when Denver shot very few three-pointers.
24 threes.
I thought, okay, that's what the NBA used to look like. And I know everything evolves and it's a different game, but to me, there's a clip going around. You've probably seen it. It's on, I don't know if it's on Twitter. I've seen it
before. The Lakers.
It's like, I can't imagine why ratings are down in the NBA. And it was like a 2 or 3 minute clip. And it was just each team running down the other floor and someone jacking up a three and missing. And the other team went down and jacked up a three and they missed. And this went on and on, back and forth. And I said, well, that's perfect. That's exactly what I think I'm watching when I watch the NBA. To me, this is a bad product. I hate to say it so bluntly, but the fundamentals are gone. Watching guys that used to charge the basket and have an inside presence, it's gone. It's become a shooting competition, and no one wants to watch that.
Isn't it interesting, G?
It's very easy to fix. All you got to do is you say, listen, we're only counting your first 10 threes as threes. If you can hit them all the rest of the day, if you want to, they're only twos. And I guarantee you, after you hit your 10 threes and you got your points, no one's going to be pulling up from half court because it's only worth 2.
Right. It would be punitive.
It would be punitive. It would make no sense. You would have to say, well, this is a lower percentage shot for 2 points. I might want to get to the basket, or I might want to shoot this mid-range, or it changed the way you would do it. Or you could do it in this way. Hey, look, you only allowed a certain amount of threes per quarter.
I heard somebody else suggest you can only take 1 3-point attempt per possession. So if you miss, you can't shoot another 3 in that possession.
I like all these ideas.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll
No,
happen,
they're not going to do any of that.
Bull, we always talk about the impact of analytics on sports.
Yeah.
We always tend to use baseball, which is very analytically driven.
Right.
Football has become very analytically driven. I'm not sure there's been a bigger change in professional sports since the advent and implementation of analytics than the 3-point shot and the effect that's had on the game. Because the math, when you do the mathematical equation, it is more, you have the better chance of success shooting 3s than 2s. That's just math.
Right. It's 3s and dunks. That's all they want.
And the math equation
which I get
that's
from the
happening
math,
is you're getting 150% of the points, but the likelihood that you miss that shot is only going down about 15%. So it's a mathematical equation. So teams just finally said, and the Celtics are a perfect example of that, we're going to shoot as many of them as we can because analytics tell us that's what we're supposed to do.
So I found this really interesting graph. It's from Pro Basketball Reference, and it goes the percentage and frequency of shots, rim shots, long mid-range shots, short mid-range shots, and 3% shots in their frequency, dating every year back to the year 2000 to this season.
That's fascinating.
And I'll send you guys the chart. It's too small to put in tag board, but this surprised me because it didn't actually register. But now that you can see it visually, I'm gonna send it to you in a sec. The amount of shots at the rim from pick a year, this year versus any year in the last 25 years.
Go all the way back. Go to 2000.
2000 for 2001 season. 29% of NBA shots were at the rim in the year 2000. This year it's 28.7%. So rim attempts and paint shots exactly the same.
Yeah.
The difference,
I think what we've washed out are the mid to long range jumpers.
They have gone down in the year 2000, 31%. It's down to 4.5%.
Yeah.
And the contrary's threes went from 17% or 16.8% in the year 2000 up to over 40%.
And that is a direct impact of analytics.
And short range, mid range, so like floaters right outside the rim, have not really changed. We have just eliminated long 2s with 3s. That's really the only change. And what's the worst shot in basketball, Jason?
Mid-range.
The long 2?
No, the worst shot is a 3-point shot with a foot on the line.
Yeah, but that's a long range. It goes down as a long range shot.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't know that the ratings being down really means basketball is less popular, as Mike points out. People watch it. Basketball, unlike baseball and football, have a much younger audience. They're watching things on their phones. It's social media clips.
But they have been for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why a 25% jump?
Yeah.
That's not a statistical anomaly. That's something is going on.
Oh, the league is concerned about it.
Well, they better be.
I'm just not sure that the league's less popular. I just find it boring. I think, but I'm old.
I don't think the league's concerned about it. They got their money. No. I think the TV partners are concerned about it.
And that's why the league needs to be concerned about it.
But that will be an issue if
they just sign new deals. So eventually they will be. But
you're right.
Now.
So you can be baseball head in sand and say, no, we're good.
That's where they are right now.
Well, they better not be, because it caught up with baseball eventually, and it will catch up with them to the NBA. I read something earlier this week about how exactly what you just said. The ratings woes does not impact the NBA right now. That money's in the bank and it's being spent.
And it just is starting.
And it's just at the beginning, brand new deals. However, if you're the TNTs and the Amazons and all of these other entities that want to, because I think everybody would agree, and the teams will, the leagues will tell you that the more partners you have, the better it is. because it defers the payments. It spreads out the payments. You're still getting product, but you're not spending as much. When there's one partner, it's not good for the league or for the partner.
Right.
You want to have 5, like football now. That you get games on
Diversify the
Amazon. You
portfolio.
get games on Netflix. The Christmas Day games are Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what you want. You want to be in business with the lot. However, when those deals come up, they're going to be set on ratings. And if ratings continue to be 25% of what they were, then their deals, when they come up, are going to be 25% of what they are now.
Now, baseball, unlike basketball, in my opinion, has done a good job in one vein. They've made a lot of rule changes that I think have made the game better. On the other hand,
but Bull, their heads were in the sand for years.
That's true.
Those changes are just now being made.
And this is the call for a salary cap in baseball is getting louder. And
I've been screaming for years.
If the owners are going to finally put their foot down and say we have to have a salary cap, you're going to miss a full season of baseball.
We may, because they will dig
100%.
in. But here's why that might. And I remember Bud Selig at the last strike in 30 years ago, 94, 95. Yeah. He said, sometimes to get to where you want to go, you have to go through hell.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what baseball did. The game was better on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on the baseball salary cap thing. Here's why it's coming. It's getting more out of control than it's ever been before, and there are more of have-nots than haves.
Yeah, I think the have-nots are the problem, not the haves, but it doesn't matter.
I disagree with you. I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah.
I think the have-nots are doing – now, I know you can say Cleveland could spend more money.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if there's a limitless amount of spending, you're always going to have 4 or 5 outliers like the Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees that push the bar so high, the disparity between the haves and the have-nots becomes so great that you're incentivizing the have-nots not to spend money.
No, I think the have-nots could all spend way more than they are, and then the gap wouldn't be as big.
We have a super chat.
I know we're out of time.
One more point on that, but really quickly. I think the league is to blame for this. They instituted this stupid in-season tournament. Ratings are down 25%, so it had no impact on what they hoped it would. Why are the Bucks going to sit tonight? Because Giannis told Liam, whatever his name is, who's a nobody, that, you know what, we're going to win this tournament so you can buy a house.
That's right.
And he got a $500,000 paycheck, and now they're going to rest their players. So this is league-driven.
I got a super chat in 15 seconds.
Go ahead.
Scooby Flo says, my dad's been a Browns fan for 50 years. Always tells me he probably won't never see a Super Bowl. I'm 25. Always been a fan. Do you think I'll see a Super Bowl in my lifetime?
You will. I won't.
G, yes. Yeah, you're going to win a Super Bowl. Browns are going to win a Super Bowl. Yes, sir.
No.